It's a question of timing in terms of the date for the final negotiations and when the tax was coming into effect. And it doesn't make sense to collect tax from people and then remit them back. So it provides some certainty. And as I just said, the negotiations have restarted. We're going to focus on getting the best deal for Canadians.
The digital services tax is dead, and this is great news for Canadian consumers and Canadian taxpayers. Now, did Prime Minister Mark Carney simply bend the knee to President Donald Trump? That's absolutely not the case. Mark Carney made the right decision in repealing this digital services tax, and it's important to recognize that there had been bipartisan opposition in the United States to this tax for a very long time. The Biden administration was deeply, deeply opposed to this tax that the Trudeau government was pursuing at the time. And the U.S. Trade Representative under the Biden administration a year ago, when the tax was actually passed into law, said the United States would put all options on the table in terms of a response should Canada actually put this tax into effect. And the Carney government's plan was to put this tax into effect on July the 1st. So the Carney government announcing that they were not going to go forward with this tax because the Trump administration was going to drop talks for a new economic and security partnership between Canada and the United States. Of course, this is a concession to the United States, but this is not simply something that Donald Trump just demanded. This is something the Americans have been demanding, that Canada not enforce this unfair tax under multiple administrations of different parties. So this is not simply a bending of the knee to something that Donald Trump is demanding on social media. This is simply listening to a partner in the United States that has been arguing that the digital services tax is unfair to U.S. companies under multiple administrations. It also would have been deeply damaging for Canadian consumers. The Parliamentary Budget Officer estimated that the digital services tax would have raised $1.4 billion of revenue per year for the federal government. And where is this money going to come from? Of course, we all know that big companies like Apple and Amazon and Uber were not simply going to eat these costs. They were going to pass these costs onto the consumer. And the PBO actually said in its report that that was the expectation, that prices would simply go up for Canadians. So Canadians really dodged a bullet on this tax. It would have meant higher streaming costs, higher ridershare app costs. It would have meant higher costs for Canadians across the board. And of course, a poisoned trade relationship with the United States. So the canceling of this tax is a really big deal. And as well, the Carney government isn't simply pausing it, they're saying they're rescinding it. And there will be a bill put on the table in the fall in Parliament to repeal the digital services tax. And all members of Parliament from all parties should vote to repeal this tax, which would have poisoned our relationship with the United States and would have raised costs for Canadian consumers at a time when Canadian consumers can least afford it.